Hi, my name is Andy Midgley. I'm a student at North Hertfordshire College at the Hitchin campus. My U number is U00040977 and I'm studying a Level 3 Extended Diploma in Public Services as I'm in my second year. The unit number that I'm going to be talking about is Unit 14, Responding to Emergencies and Who Does What at an Emergency Scene. The chosen public service that I've chosen to talk about is the police. This is because the police respond to many emergency incidents to identify the cause of them and to find out who is to blame. Not only that, but it is a career that I would very much like to go into when I leave college, and I've already sent off an application to join the police force, so I could be a police officer within the August sort of time due to the background checks and the vetting and everything else. But before we talk about how the police respond to emergency incidents, we need to talk about the role of the call handler. A police call handler is responsible for dealing with emergency and high priority calls for police assistance. It is estimated that around 80,000 calls are made every day to the police in the UK alone. Call handlers are required to handle large amounts of telephone calls a day, obtain and record accurate information, assess the situation and the level of police response required, and initiate the appropriate police action as rapidly as possible. Call handlers are often required to handle several emergency situations simultaneously, all of which is taking place in a highly pressured environment. Every time a call handler takes a call, it is impossible to predict what type of phone call they are going to receive. They are also the main linchpin for police-to-public communication. Now, this is down to the call handler taking down the emergency contact details, the house address or the address of where the incident is taking place, or an email address if they need it. There are no two calls that are exactly the same. Call handlers will need to adjust to every phone call they take, and will also need to adjust to various different calls and scenarios to best suit the incident. Before a response is actually sent out, we need to talk about the grading that the call handler gives the call in order to initiate the appropriate emergency response. There are 4 different grades, and the first one is Grade 1, which is an emergency response. This is where a call has been made to the emergency services and they believe that the incident is likely to result in either threat of violence, serious damage to a property, serious injury to a person, or danger to life. An example of this would be a road traffic collision, or an RTC, that most police officers do respond to, which would be more than likely to involve a serious injury to a person, and the road would be blocked, creating a traffic jam which would need to be controlled. Some more possibilities of a Grade 1 incident could be criminal conduct. These would include an offender is creating a disturbance at a scene, a detained offender presents a threat to arresting officers, or a serious crime is happening and is in progression or evolving into a more dangerous threat. The second grade is Grade 2, which is a priority response. In a Grade 2 incident, there is a certain degree of importance or urgency, however, emergency response is not actually required. Some examples of a Grade 2 incident would be somebody involved is vulnerable and upset, an offender has been detained, there is concern for a person's health and well-being, there is a risk of loss of a witness or evidence, there is serious injury or road obstruction in a road traffic collision, or also possibly hate crimes. The third grade call would be a scheduled response. This is when a Grade 3 incident, the emergency services are not required instantly. The time of response could be anything up to about 48 hours. An example of this would be a service-orientated incident like the police being required at the hospital. And the fourth grade is resolution without deployment. In a Grade 4 incident, the call handler is able to resolve the incident through a number of different ways. So this could be through written advice, a phone call, answering a caller's questions, or recommend a more appropriate service. In a Grade 4 incident, the response of a police officer is not required, however the incident would be recorded and analysed. The incident would be more than likely handed over to another agency, so these agencies could include a Safer Community team, Child Protection Agency, intelligence units, or a traffic control team. Now, going on to the response times, which is the time that it takes for the police to actually be deployed and actually get to the scene. So this depends on the type of grading that the call handler has actually given the call. So when a call from a Grade 1 incident, all vehicles responding to the incident will use their blue lights and sirens and have the right to ignore road speed limits to actually make progress to the scene to prevent anything from happening further or the incident from evolving into anything much worse. Or they could also ignore the red lights at a scene as well. They can also treat it as like a giveaway sign or anything else like that. A Grade 1 incident would normally be responded to within about 20 minutes, or depending on how much traffic there are, it could possibly be a little bit longer, but due to the police sirens, it actually tells people to get out of the way to allow them to get through to where they need to be. Within a Grade 2 call, it would normally be responded to within about 2 hours. In a Grade 3 incident, it would be about 48 hours, as I said before. Or a Grade 4 is when any incident is called in, the responsibility of the call handler to assess the situation, as I said before, and it's basically just done from there. And also, before the police actually get responded to the actual incident itself, an incident manager is also called, as they identify, analyse and correct hazards at an emergency incident to prevent future reoccurrence. Incident managers have to make the best use of both time and resources that are available in order to complete their work efficiently and effectively. The incident manager would also arrange to get further resources needed to help casualties on scene. So this would include having blood transported by the National Blood Services on the motorbikes to the actual scene, as people could be bleeding out on the scene. They are also a supervisory party and supervise the incident. What the incident manager also does is assess the incidents and identifies the best way for the officers to complete their work, without causing harm to themselves or others. They can also be in charge of computer system incident response teams, or CSIRTs, to battle internet crime where the police also have to get involved because of the emergence of technology such as smartphones and the internet evolving constantly and everything else like that. If there was an intruder within an organisation's database, for example, someone hacked into the computer system at an insurance company, the CSIRT would analyse the problem, determine the breadth of the compromise, and then take corrective action. They would also try to identify where the hack was initiated, and then the police could arrest the person for intruding in a business's system without actually knowing that they are on their way. It's also going on from trying to get to an emergency scene. There's also different types of driving training within the police force, and there are 3 different types of driver training which are standards within the police force. The 3 standards are basic, standard or response driver, and an advanced driver as well. For a basic driver response team, these are for employees with full DVLA, Category B driving licence, or a Category A motorcycle licence. For the standard response driver, the driver or rider is trained to a standard to enable them to respond safely to incidents, requiring the use of legal exemptions. And the advanced is a driver or the rider is trained to a higher level than a standard or response drivers, which enables them to drive high-performance vehicles operationally. The drivers of these vehicles also have to do recording of their own vehicles. This could include personal details, the driving licence, driving authorisation, the training, and the collision or damage data, which basically then gets passed on to the mechanics who look the vehicle over to see what needs fixing and everything else like that. So this could be caused from speeding over speed bumps, trying to chase over somebody speeding in a car, or someone who's just failed to stop. However, there are some exemptions to response drivers as well. Now, this is when the police are responding to an emergency, they are exempt from certain rules on the road. These exemptions include they treat a red light as a give-way sign. This means that when they approach a red light, they can go through it, but they still have to give way to other road users going past. So if the police are coming forward with their blue lights on and there are cars already on the roundabout, the police have to slow down, allow the drivers already on the roundabout to go round it, and then they can go on through and cut off in front of everybody else. What they can also do is pass to the right of a keep left bollard. This means that they can go to the opposite side of the road to keep up with someone if they are in pursuit, if they are in a vehicle, or if they are on foot, for example, or anything else like that. They can go to the right of a keep left bollard to enable them to go faster. Another exemption that they have is drive on a motorway hard shoulder. This means that they can use a hard shoulder to get to an emergency incident quickly to avoid the traffic. What they can also do is also use the hard shoulder of the motorway going in the opposite direction on the motorway. So this means going round the roundabout the wrong way, taking the exit, going the opposite way to where you're going, and going on the hard shoulder up that way. And another exemption they can do is disobey the speed limit. This means that police officers can go faster than 30 in that zone, for example, or 30-mile-an-hour speed limit. They can go for a little bit faster, say to about 40 miles an hour, which allows them to make progress to an emergency incident to meet their response time. Well, thank you for listening. I hope this information has been helpful to you, and I hope you can learn something from this video.